Yo guys, Paunchy here, and today I'm going to show you how to get started patching on your Moog Grandmother synths. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about patch cables. So the ones that you need are 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch TS patch cables. Now, also known as 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter. Now, I like these colored ones because it makes it a little bit easier to tell where things are going rather than using ones that are the same color, like some of those gray ones. Not knocking them, but personally I just like the colored ones because they're easier to keep track of. Also, these here are different lengths. I highly recommend getting a couple different lengths for getting started with the Grandmother, because it just so happens that there's a couple patch points on the Grandmother that are too far away from each other for a 1-foot cable. So highly recommend you get a couple different lengths. Let's go. Alright, so first off, I want to actually show you guys how to use your high pass filter, because if you've ever tried to use it without utilizing the modular aspect of your Grandmother, you'll notice that the high pass filter is basically not connected the way it's pre-wired. So if you try and use the high pass filter, nothing happens. So what I want to actually show you guys is how to use the high pass filter with just one of the oscillators. So that way you can actually shape the tone of the second oscillator without affecting the first oscillator. So basically just trying to show you guys how to get more tones out of your Grandmother, especially if you haven't messed with the semi-modular stuff at all. So basically what you do, take your patch cables. Now the first thing you want to do is take the wave out of oscillator 2, which is the top one here. Take the wave out, plug it into the input of the high pass filter, which is right here. So effectively what you're doing here is you're sending the wave of the second oscillator to the high pass filter, and then from there you take the output of the high pass filter right next to the input, and you put that into the oscillator 2 in of the mixer right here. So effectively what that does is not only makes it so you can use your high pass filter, but then it makes it so it only controls the second oscillator. So this is what it sounds like. The high pass filter is off when it's all the way to the left. So the more you turn it to the right, the more you take away the lows, which is what a high pass filter does. It basically allows the highs to pass through. So keep in mind, if you turn the high pass filter all the way up, essentially what you're doing is you're taking away oscillator 2 completely. So if you move the knob back and forth, you can really hear the difference. And also keep in mind, I have my waveform set differently. My oscillator 1 is set to square, and my oscillator 2 is set to sawtooth. So I did that just so you can kind of hear the difference between the two. Okay, so now taking that a step further, what we can do here is we can make it so the low pass filter only controls oscillator 1, and then the high pass filter controls oscillator 2. So let's start over here, unplug these. So now patch the output of oscillator 2 into the high pass filter. It's a little different than what we did before because we want the output of oscillator 2, which is right here in the mixer. Take the output of oscillator 2, right here, into the high pass filter, into the input of the high pass filter, and then you want the output of the high pass filter into the mult. Now, I once heard a great tip from the great Daniel Fisher. It's good practice to put your ends of your mult into the bottom left. In this case, we're going to have two things going into the mult. What you can do there is start with the bottom left and then go in kind of a clockwise fashion. So all that does is it makes it so if you're trying to troubleshoot your modular stuff, it makes it so you can at least remember which ones are the ins and which ones are the outs. Okay, so we have the output of the high pass filter going into the mult, and then what we want to do is take the output of the low pass filter and put that into the mult as well. So we'll put that right above. So essentially what we have here are the ins of the mult will be on the left and then the outputs will be on the right. So now we're going to take that signal from the top right of the mult section and we're going to put that into the VCA in of the output section, which is over here in the far right. Okay, so now what we have here, I'm going to open up both filters all the way. So the low pass filter over here is all the way open, which is to the right. The high pass filter is all the way open here, which is to the left. So now let's see what we have. Okay, now let's mess with the low pass filter a little bit. And what that's going to do is only mess with oscillator 1. So if you close that all the way, put it all the way to the left, that essentially gets rid of oscillator 1, so all you have left is oscillator 2. And I'm sure you'll notice right away it doesn't sound anything like if we didn't have any of these connected, because normally when you put the filter all the way to the end here, you don't get this kind of sound, that's for sure. So now let's mess with the high pass filter a little bit. I'm definitely going to make more videos on messing with the semi-modular aspect of the Grandmother, because I believe once you have this synth down as far as not utilizing any of this stuff, any patching, that's prime time for you to start getting into the semi-modular stuff, so that way you can further expand the palette of your Grandmother. I mean, the palette is pretty wide without having to use any patching, But once you get into the patching, there's so many more possibilities that it just gets insane. And once you start, you're not going to be able to stop. Hope that helps you guys. Leave any comments down below. If you have any questions, any requests, let me know what you think about patching on the Grandmother. And I will see you in the next video.